What gave you the right to put your hands on my daughter? You are a disgrace to your parents, to your own children, to your family, and any friends you have left. You are a serial rapist and a child predator. You should be ashamed of your actions, especially having 3 daughters of your own.
Hello, true crime addicts. The story I have for you today is about a young girl who was a 17-year-old high school student who goes on spring break with her friends, but she goes missing on April 25, 2009 during her vacation. For 13 years, her case went cold. There were no solid leads and no clues to her disappearance. None of her friends from spring break were ever interviewed or offered any information. This is the story of Brittanee Drexel. Now, we all know that spring break is a time for everyone to go out and enjoy fun in the sun, and for many, it's their first real taste of adulthood and freedom. But the innocence and experience of youth means that spring break is often wrought with peril. This story goes back to April 2009 and leads all the way till this year. So Brittanee Drexel was a 17-year-old and a high school junior from Rochester, New York. Rochester is located in upper state New York, about 2 hours east of Niagara Falls. Brittanee is highly excited and prepared to embark on a spring break trip to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, without anyone in her family knowing. Her mother, Dawn Drexel, was dead set against her going. She felt in her gut that something bad could happen. Brittanee was your typical teenage girl in 2009. She was born in 1991 to her mother, Dawn, and a man of Turkish descent. Shortly after Brittanee's birth, Dawn married Chad Drexel, who adopted Brittanee. She had 2 younger siblings, her sister Maritza and brother Camden, who was just 5 years old the last time he saw Brittanee. Now, growing up, Brittanee loved to play soccer. She was physically fit, she was pretty, outgoing, popular at school, great friends, and very intelligent. Brittanee suffered from a condition called hyperplastic primary vitreous, which left her blind in one eye. She underwent numerous surgeries to correct the problem, with the most recent procedure occurring about a year before she vanished. Her weak eye tended to wander, so Brittanee was known to use specialized contact lenses to make both eyes appear the same. On the side, Brittanee was also a cosmetology student at the time of her disappearance and dreamed of becoming a model. I mean, as you can see, she has a lot of inspirations in her life. But with life there comes difficulties, and Brittanee was struggling emotionally. Largely due to the part because her parents were in the process of getting divorced. In an interview with her mom in 2014, Dawn explained, "Her mental stability wasn't good. I was losing my home, my ex-husband had moved out, and we were going through a divorce. She wanted security and stability." Her mom believes, due to all the stressors at home, Brittanee needed a sort of break, and this is what fueled Brittanee's determination to travel to Myrtle Beach against Dawn's wishes. Dawn didn't want Brittanee to go to Myrtle Beach, as she feared for her daughter's safety, so Brittanee did what many teenagers do. She lied about where she was going to be. So on April 23rd, Brittanee and her friends Jennifer Ober, Philip Erber, and Alana Lipa made the escape and went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Just so we can all get an idea, this was not a small lie. A drive from Rochester, New York to Myrtle Beach takes over 13 hours non-stop. But here's the unfortunate part of Brittanee's innocent lie. Dawn had no idea her daughter had left the state until she was notified by authorities that her daughter Brittanee was missing. Brittanee spends 2.5 exact days in Myrtle Beach before she disappeared without a trace. Let's go over Brittanee's timeline while she is in Myrtle Beach from the beginning of her arrival. On day 1, April 23rd, Brittanee arrives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina with her friends and texts with her boyfriend that all is well. She's enjoying the weather, the view is beautiful, and she's having a great time. She's staying at a hotel that is right on the beach named Bar Harbor, and she's excited to be there. When her mom reached out to her to see how she was doing, she assured her that she was at her friend's house watching movies. She stays in constant contact with her boyfriend for the night. Day 2, April 24th. The next day, Brittanee's still in contact with her boyfriend. She tells him that she is starting to feel detached from her friends. She felt isolated from her friends because they were drinking and doing heavy drugs, and she was not interested in joining them. She started to do things on her own around Myrtle Beach, such as going to the beach and eating at restaurants. We can see from these messages that Brittanee was doing the right thing, staying away from the drugs and alcohol. So later that evening, she is relieved when she runs into a familiar face from Rochester, New York. His name is Peter Brawatsits, and he is staying a mile from her hotel at the Blue Water Resort. Brittanee also meets a male college student from the Midwest section of the USA. She befriended him while she was on the boulevard while being insulted and yelled at by a group of kids. She asked him to walk with her so she wouldn't be alone, and he did. After she disappeared, he released this video to the Myrtle Beach police and says he has no idea where she is. Here is the video he shot of Brittanee 24 hours before she vanished. Now, it is odd that the video was taken in what seems to be inside of a hotel room in a possible balcony area, even though she just met this guy. Day 3, Saturday, April 25th. So at about 2 p.m., Brittanee's mom and sister called to let her know they have bought her some new soccer cleats while they were at the mall. It was a sunny and warm day in Rochester, New York, and they asked her where she was at. She told them she was at the beach, and they assumed she was at a nearby beach named Sherlock Beach. Her mom asked to speak to a parent, and she put someone on the phone. This person told her mom that it is okay for Brittanee to stay at her friend's house. She tells her mom that when she leaves the beach, she's going back to her friend's house to watch movies. She thanks her mom for letting her come to her friend's house and that she will return home the next day. Now at 8 p.m., she borrows a pair of shorts from her friend and plans to meet up with her friend Peter that she ran into from Rochester, New York. 8:15 p.m. Brittanee is seen on a traffic camera walking alone on her phone. As she is on her way to her friend's hotel, the Blue Water Resort, she is texting her boyfriend to tell him she's having a horrible time. She discloses that she regrets the people she came to Myrtle Beach with. A short time after arriving at the Blue Water Resort, she receives a message from her friend to return her shorts that she had just borrowed. Sometime after 8:30 p.m., Brittanee leaves the Blue Resort, and while she's down the street, she gets a text message that she had left her flip-flops back at the hotel. She then proceeds to head back to the Blue Water Resort and hangs out for a few more minutes. At 8:48 p.m., annoyed and frustrated, Brittanee leaves and heads back to her hotel, which is only a mile away. She's texting her boyfriend angrily as she leaves the Blue Water Resort on her mile-long walk back to Bar Harbor. It is now 8:58 p.m. Her last text message goes out to her boyfriend as she is walking back to Bar Harbor, and all cell phone activity stops. There's no sign of her on the traffic camera, and somewhere between the Blue Water Resort and Bar Harbor, she vanishes without a trace. Now, sometime after 9 p.m., after being in constant contact with her on her trip thus far, her boyfriend becomes very concerned when he does not hear back from her. He's frantically texting her, telling her if she doesn't respond, he's going to tell her parents the whole truth. He never gets a response back from Brittanee. He should have taken her about 15 minutes to walk from the hotel to hotel, but she's never seen or heard from again. Shortly after, Dawn, back in Rochester, New York, receives a call from Brittanee's boyfriend, telling her the whole story. He tells her mom that she went to Myrtle Beach and he has not heard from her. Her mom was initially angry at her for going to South Carolina without her parents' permission. Her anger turned into fear when she was unable to reach Brittanee. The shocked family packs up in disbelief and heads to South Carolina to find Brittanee. 9:27 p.m. Now there's a cell phone ping off Brittanee's phone. The ping points to an unfavorable swamp area named Surfside Beach. Surfside Beach is about 7 miles south of Myrtle Beach. 11:58 p.m. Another cell phone ping for the last time. This time it's over 50 miles away near George County, US 17, and the Charleston County line. This area is very isolated, full of alligators, snakes, bug-infested, and other wild animals. Later in the investigation, this area is searched and nothing turned up that will lead them to her. At about 2 a.m., now here is something that's suspicious and should raise a red flag. Brittanee's friend, who she visited at the Blue Water Resort, which is Peter, packs up in the middle of the night in a hurry. He leaves Myrtle Beach to return home to Rochester. When he gets home, he hires an attorney. Investigators later would say he left clothes behind in the room and did not get his deposit back. It was obvious that Brittanee intended to return to the Bar Harbor Hotel, as evident by the clothing she left behind. Her beige purse and pink cell phone went missing when Brittanee vanished. Searches for Brittanee turned up no solid clues, nor did interviews with any of the people she connected while in Myrtle Beach. The friends she traveled to Myrtle Beach with were never interviewed and never offered any information to authorities. The Drexel family was especially frustrated with a man named Peter, a club promoter from Rochester, who was also vacationing in Myrtle Beach at the same time as Brittanee. He was the last person to see her alive, and the 20-year-old took the 17-year-old Brittanee to Club Kryptonite, located at US 17 Bypass and 29th Avenue North. 4 other men, Anthony, Philip, Keith, and Matthew, told the police that they had been sharing a room with Barats at the Blue Water Resort in Myrtle Beach. They claimed that during the trip, the four of them briefly met Brittanee, but they didn't really know her. Now remember, Peter checked out of the hotel on April 26, the day after Brittanee vanished. He left in a hurry. He left so fast that the guy even left close behind, but the other men stayed behind. He has been quite uncooperative with investigators, but has agreed on more than one occasion to speak with Brittanee's family on the Dr. Phil talk show. He has denied having any knowledge of Brittanee's whereabouts or what happened to her. When Dawn asked Peter why he didn't call the police when he found out that Brittanee was missing, he responded that he wasn't a babysitter. Peter also stated that she was there with a couple of her own friends. If we play the devil's advocate, we have to see it through Peter's eyes. A young woman who goes missing and he is the last one to see her. Of course he's immediately going to be number one suspect. So there is a reason he lawyered up and would only speak through his lawyer. But also Brittanee's family has been frustrated with the police and the teens that accompanied Brittanee to South Carolina as well, due to the lack of cooperation and apparent apathy over what happened to their so-called friend. None of those friends ever reached out to Dawn to see how she was doing, nor did they offer to help look for Brittanee. Said Dawn, "I never spoke to any of them or any of their parents." Watson in comment said that Brittanee had been arguing with one of those friends before she disappeared. Specifically, the friends were fighting over Jen's Uber, and the fight stemmed from Brittanee wearing a pair of shorts that belonged to Jen. Now, when Brittanee left the Blue Water Resort, Peter didn't even offer her a ride back to her hotel. This set off a red flag in Dawn's mind. Dawn even stated this was something Brittanee would never do. If she wanted to go to her friend's house 8 houses away, I'd have to drive her. Brittanee didn't walk anywhere. When asked by Dr. Phil why he didn't drive Brittanee back to her hotel, he reiterated that he wasn't in Myrtle Beach to babysit. Whether Peter knows something about what happened to Brittanee is unclear, but he's no gentleman, but there is more to the story as we continue. So why would Brittanee lie to her parents about going to Myrtle Beach? I mean, of course any parent would lose their mind of their underage kid asked to go away for spring break with no adult supervision, to a location that is 13 hours away. But Dawn has a theory as to why her daughter was so intent on going to Myrtle Beach against her wishes. She believes Brittanee was promised something, possibly a modeling job. Dawn believes Brittanee was trafficked, though there was no evidence to suggest that what happened at the time. Even so, it was a theory worth pursuing. There are numerous roads in the area that cross state lines, and a resort area would be the perfect place to find new victims. Acknowledging that human trafficking occurs in and around Myrtle Beach could potentially crush tourism in the area, so the police might have been quick to downplay the possibility. But a mother intuition always seems right. 7 years later, in 2016, a startling development happened. The FBI agreed with Dawn Drexel that Brittanee had likely been trafficked. According to investigators at the time, Brittanee was held against her will in McLennanville for several days, then killed. The FBI said she had been seen in the area by more than one person. This information was provided by Taquan Brown, an inmate who told the police he saw another man named Timothy DeShawn Taylor and several other men sexually abuse Brittanee at a stash house. He stated that poor Brittanee allegedly tried to escape but was immediately caught and pistol whipped. Brown reported that he heard 2 gunshots and assumed she had been killed, probably by Taylor. After that, Brittanee's body was wrapped up and taken away. Adding to the horror of the story is the allegation that Brittanee's attackers took her body to an alligator pit, one of the many in the area, and where she was dumped and left for gators to devour. FBI agent Garrick Munoz said, "Several witnesses have told us Miss Drexel's body was placed in a pit, or gator pit, to have her body disposed of, eaten by gators." Despite these claims and testimony from several witnesses, Taylor was not charged and has not been charged with any crimes relating to Brittanee's disappearance and alleged murder. This is probably due to having no connection to Brittanee, no evidence, no body, no clues that led to Taylor being the criminal. But Brittanee's father, Chad Drexel, absolutely believes that his daughter was sexually assaulted, killed, and dumped as gator food. He said, "Based on the evidence the FBI and the Myrtle Beach Department has gathered, along with the facts and specific information gathered from a team of private investigators that I hired to work with local law enforcement actively during the cage, we have no doubt Timothy DeShawn Taylor played a significant role in the abduction and murder of my daughter." Later on, when Taylor was given a polygraph exam, he showed deception when asked if he knew who played a role in Brittanee's disappearance and if he had ever seen her in person. At the time, Taylor was awaiting a sentence hearing on an unrelated robbery charge that the FBI pursued after Taylor refused to help an investigation into Brittanee's disappearance. However, polygraph tests aren't 100% reliable, and questions were raised about the accuracy of Taylor's test. After it was revealed, the test showed Taylor lied about his own name. Polygraphs can help direct law enforcement to a suspect or suspects, but due to the inaccuracy, the results of the tests are not admissible in court. Then in 2019, an abandoned home belonging to the Taylor family burned to the ground. This house was believed to be the stash house where Brittanee was allegedly taken to, sexually assaulted, and shot. While there was nothing to suggest that the fire was in any way connected to Brittanee's case, it was considered suspicious because the property was abandoned and had no power, yet somehow caught on fire. But just when the Drexel family thought that they would see no justice to her child's abduction and murder, a sudden twist in the case would occur. A second person of interest. Timothy Deshawn Taylor was not the only person of interest in the disappearance of Brittanee, at least for a time. A man named Raymond Moody was looked at by investigators. Moody was staying in a hotel in Georgetown County on the night Brittanee went missing. He received a traffic ticket in Surfside Beach where Brittanee's cell phone pinged the day after she disappeared. Moody's movements in those 2 days, combined with his lengthy and violent criminal history, immediately caught the attention of the police. He was charged with and convicted of kidnapping and sexually assaulting a child under the age of 14 back in 1983. Around the same time that Brittanee vanished, Moody was being questioned in the disappearance of a 28-year-old woman. Moody, a registered adult Tier 3 sex offender, was officially named a person of interest in 2012. However, as of 2021, nothing ever came of the investigation, and Timothy Deshawn Taylor remained the primary person of interest in the case. With no luck with both suspects, Brittanee was not found. If she was truly tossed in an alligator pit, then it is very likely that she will never be found. Investigators in the Drexel family still believes Taylor was involved in Brittanee's death. Either he witnessed what took place or he participated in it. But Dawn Drexel still suspects her daughter's friends from Rochester no more than they have let on. In 2019, on the 10th anniversary of Brittanee's disappearance, Dawn said, "I did think there was some involvement with the kids that were back in Rochester because they wouldn't even talk to me. They didn't meet up with us to pass out flyers, to go look for her, to do anything. They were questioned by the police, then they headed back to Rochester. And there was many times that they had seen messages on Facebook and such that they'll never come back to Myrtle Beach. Why wouldn't you? What happened? And still to this day, we don't know anything." It is shameful and frustrating that the people who supposedly cared about Brittanee haven't made any effort to help or even contact Brittanee's family. Whether they know what happened or not, perhaps they were just scared in 2009. But it is now 2021. They are no longer kids. It's time to speak up if they have any useful information. 13 years later, and almost to the day of her disappearance, the Drexel family would get notification that the case has finally been solved. Authorities announced that they not only did they finally arrest someone in her murder, but they have also found Brittanee's remains. And the shocker was that it had nothing to do with the inmate in his story about what happened to Brittanee. Raymond Moody, the second suspect, was arrested. Authorities said he had been a person of interest for 10 years, and they had identified remains found buried in Georgetown as those of Brittanee Drexel. It was a process of DNA and dental records that forensically identified her. Brittanee was located 2.5 miles away from Raymond Moody's motel. According to the arrest warrant, Drexel's cause of death was manual strangulation by Moody, and he has also committed non-consensual sexual battery and kidnapping by force. Moody would eventually dump her body one day after she had vanished.
The Drexel girl walking along on the sidewalk and smoking pot. She noticed that, walked over to the door and said something about that smells like good weed. I said, "Yeah, you want some? Sure. Get in." She hopped right in the back without a problem.
She got in the vehicle. Did you know it was for a bad purpose?
No, not at all. That didn't even cross my mind. Things got out of hand. And I panicked and she panicked. And I strangled her. Actually, I dropped it in the donation box at the Salvation Army in Georgetown.
All of her stuff, the phone included, and her purse?
Not the phone.
What did you do with where did the phone go?
You can answer that, but
I
we
threw
can wrap that up.
I threw the phone in the river.
On October 19th, 2022, Raymond Moody appeared in court and pled guilty to the murder of Brittanee Drexel.
I was sentenced to 40 years, 4 months. And I did 20 years and 8 months. And I thought that was enough, but it wasn't. I was a monster. I was a monster then. And I was a monster. And I took Brittanee Drexel's life. You know, I don't have the words to express how horrible I feel. And I've felt ever since that day very, very sorry.
Brittanee's family was also able to speak out in court.
What gave you the right to put your hands on my daughter? You are a disgrace to your parents, to your own children, to your family, and any friends you have left. You are a serial rapist and a child predator. You should be ashamed of your actions, especially having 3 daughters of your own.
When I found out that she went missing, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to... I just felt numb. I don't wish that for anybody. Not even people in prison. To lose their child. A loved one, but I mean, I'm gonna be her adopted dad, but I loved her. At first, I thought she would be found because, like Don had mentioned, that she was going down there and searching. They're gonna bring her home, and that's what I thought would happen. However, days turned to months, and those months turned into years. Years of torture, wondering where my daughter was, our daughter was, our sister was. Every single day I prayed. I was a Catholic, and I became a Christian really quick because at the end of the day, all you got is you and God. Sorry.
So I want to live for her, and I'm wearing a cross with her today, and I keep it with me every single day. And I just want to say I'm living for her and making the choices that she would, but on my own. And I believe that she's guiding me all the way, and thank God that we found justice and can end this horror story and move on with our lives by keeping her in our thoughts. Thank you.
This is not the ending anyone wanted or hoped for, but Brittanee can be put to rest peacefully now, and her family can have some closure. Although the tragedy that befell Brittanee that terrible week in April 2009 will be with them forever. Raymond Moody will now spend the rest of his life in prison. As for linking Timothy Taylor to the case, the FBI issued a statement saying, "Throughout the investigation, law enforcement followed multiple leads to wherever they led us based on information we had at the time. We have an obligation to follow leads to their conclusion. The person we believe is responsible for Brittanee murder has been charged." Rest in peace, Brittanee Drexel. We hope justice has been served and that you and your family can finally be at peace.